Hey guys, Bloody Vintage here. So I just want to run you through some of the first aid pouches and the Carlisle bandages you'd see inside of them. So this is for kind of what you see in US World War II. So I'm going to start with the earliest and go over to the latest. Now this is not a complete sample. Mainly you also want to look at the US World War II Medical Department. Just Google Carlisle bandages history of, and it'll come right up for you. Okay, so first I'll go over the pouch. So you're first running into the M1910 pouch. This obviously was used in World War I. This one is a reproduction from at the front. I've had originals before. They usually fade to a very, very light khaki. It's a double snap. So you can see why they want to move to a single snap. It just makes sense for ease of use. So inside that, you have your Carlisle bandage. Now these are all three full. What you'll notice is this color. You'll see it's OD7 painted and it's brass. So at the start of the war, before, you know, they were going through a lot of materials, there was brass readily available. And as you can see, that one's flaking off a little bit, brass and brass. So these are all early war brass ones, with the pull tab. Now the World War I types had a D ring on the bottom. I've had one of those too, but you know, they're valuable, so I've sold it. So FYI, just in case you run into one of those versions. So this is what you'd have, and inside you'd have a bandage. Each have a single bandage. And it's too bad because I think I used to have one that would that had it. Basically, the bandage inside would just be in a plastic wrapper, kind of like this, and you could take it out easily. Trying to recall other or tissue, kind of waxed paper, things like that. But again, I won't comment on what's inside because I really don't have access. What ended up happening after this, they realized they wanted sulfa powder. So if you watched Band of Brothers, you watched Saving Private Ryan when they're trying to save Wade, and they sprinkle the sulfa powder onto his wounds. That is what they added in, kind of, I want to say mid-war, but they added it in really before Normandy. All this is really pre-Normandy. So this is kind of your 40, 41, 42 into 42, 43, 44, 45. So when they added this powder, they want to have a way to denote it, to know if you had it in your kit or not before you opened it up and wasted all your time. And what they decided to do was simply just paint it a red color. So they had ones like this, and they said, well, you know, we have leftovers, or we're still making them in the same pattern. Let's just paint them red, and we will put sulfa powder in there. Now, maybe this is, yeah, this one does open. So you can see that looks like it's almost using a tin by this point is what they moved to. And then what ended up happening is they decided that they would actually write on the back with sulfa. I'm not going to even try to pronounce the whole thing. There were either wound tablets or the powder. The powder you could sprinkle on the wound. The wound tablets, I believe you could take. It would just simply just fight infection until you get to an aid station. And that one opens too. And then this one as well. You can even see it's red, but they still wrote it on there as well. And again, that's open. So that's, oh, that's a copper one. So they did make it out of copper. So they had brass early. Then they had tin. And then they had copper. And kind of in between, they also had a plastic one. Which I thought I had. This one sounded like plastic, but then on closer inspection, it was brass. So you had those. I'm mixing them up now. And then you also even had a paper material in between. I have the large version. This one's dated 43. So there's a large one you can put in your pocket. You'll see M43 stuff with this. And this will have a large bandage inside for larger chest wounds, gut wounds, things like that. You can see these still has the original clips as well, or sorry, I should say safety pins. You will find paper versions as well, but you can imagine this is going to get ruined really quickly, and quickly, you know, even this paper will get a bit of a rip and you get moisture in it. It gets moldy, it gets wet, it gets ruined, not very usable. So that's when they got into, they wanted, you know, the new one, obviously. So they got the M1924. So believe it or not, M1924, so this was technically pre-war, but most of them are going to be dated 40, 41, 42. So I don't know if you can see that dated 42 on there. It's not super clear. Again, you just notice the size difference between these two. Then they moved to the M1942. This is larger. I think that one's dated 43. You see them dated 43, 44. And then, you know, kind of 44, 45. They moved to the OD7. And they even made them up into Korea. I think you even see some early Vietnam War dated ones. And that will have extra space. I couldn't really find why. My guess is just adding extra things in there that you may need. You know, ointments, things like that. Because this is more than, you know, I want to say this isn't going to necessarily fit, but it will. You know, it kind of tightly fits in there, as you can see, the new style, but it really doesn't close very well. So that's where they came out with this new style M1942 that had a bit more space. And more space for what? It's these waxed cardboard versions. Now, interestingly enough, I've never really pulled these out. I have a green version. I have a black version. And I have a kind of OD, probably a faded black almost, version as well. So it's interesting, the main makers that you'll see in all this stuff. So you see those with sulfa in this one. Red color indicates back of dressing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so interesting enough, I only have one that actually has sulfa in it, and these two. So I think also they added maybe the tablet as an extra. That way you didn't need to rip open anything because you couldn't store it in a tin. So my guess is, I've never seen a complete one, but you'd have your cardboard, wax cardboard thing in there along with your wound tablet separately. Whereas here they were married together. That's my best guess anyways. So this wax cardboard was a little bit more waterproof, a little bit more damage proof. And then they wrapped it in this tin foil pretty much. And that was just so much more waterproof, rot proof. You can see this adhesive closing it up. So it's one of those things that they improved during the war. And it is odd to see that there's two different types. There's, you know, the type that goes from the top. There's a type that goes in the side. And, goes in the side. And then, sorry, I'm screwing around here as I figure it out. So, goes in the side. And then this goes on top to obviously further seal it. So, I guess looking at it now, this is a complete one. This one looks outside, and this one is missing that upper sleeve. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to show you today on the different tins and the different pouches. Again, M1910, M1924, M1942. Okay, so I hope that helps you guys.